Representative Chip Roy was on the House floor fear-mongering over the rise of Sharia law in America and whether it might be forced on the American people. Take a look at this.
I mean, is anybody paying attention to what's happening in London? I'm going to say it here on the floor of the House and get the scorn of people when I say you've got a massive Muslim takeover of the United Kingdom going on right before our eyes. They would say, Chip, well, what is wrong with that? Well, I've got some pretty strong concerns about Sharia law and whether that'll be forced upon the American people. In this case, the people of the United Kingdom.
I love watching a really dumb person make an argument because he says, we've got a takeover of the UK. And you might say, what's wrong with that? Well, hold on. No, I know you would love me to say that and buy into your framing. I'm not gonna say that, dude. The argument doesn't get to go the way that you necessarily want. What the hell are you talking about? There's a Muslim takeover of the UK. First of all, you have to actually establish that. You can't just state it and then state that also we should be terrified about Sharia law here. But here's the thing, when I say, what are you talking about? I know what he's talking about. I don't know if you, dear viewer, know what he's talking about. Chip Roy is, like so many people in elected office, a simpleton who believes everything he reads online. And so what Chip Roy did, full grown adult man Chip Roy, is he saw a tweet that was going around over the last day or two that asserted that a long list of towns in the UK had Muslim mayor.
Hey, I'm glad you're here. Listen, in order for the damage report to keep on going, we need viewers like you to become a member on YouTube. Can you click the join button on YouTube today? Thank you.
Now, most of it was inaccurate. Many of the people that were the mayors of those towns were not Muslim. I don't know if the initial troll who posted it knew that or not, but it was just wildly inaccurate. It would not be a demonstration in a country the size of the UK that it was being taken over by Sharia law, even if it happened. I will remind everyone, you can be a Muslim and serve in government. That's still, at least as of right now, legal. But so much of what was in the tweet wasn't even true. And even if it was true, it doesn't prove the larger point that the UK is being taken over. Now, the issue for all of us is that it wasn't just a tweet sent out by an Islamophobic weirdo rando. Elon Musk tweeted it out. He put wow after it because this genius, this Tony Stark of the modern era, didn't care to actually check if any of those facts were true. And so Chip Roy is less curious than even Elon Musk, so he just assumes that it's true. Yep, the UK has been utterly taken over. Muslims are a very small percentage of the UK, but seemingly despite that, they have forced themselves into all of these positions, and therefore we should be worried about it. The entire thing is nonsensical, but it reminds me of an earlier time, Sharon, of Republican politics where they hadn't yet figured out that attacking trans people was the best use of their time and all that. QAnon wasn't a thing yet, and they didn't really talk about caravans that much. It was just fear mongering about Sharia law. There would be like a Muslim community center near Ground Zero, and that would produce 3 weeks of Fox News rundowns. And it really does feel like that again. What do you think?
Yeah, it's the first step in dumbing down America is fear. You use fear and then people seem to forget what they know, just the small basic things, and they run with it. And so Chip Roy does sound more like a fool when he talks about things that he knows nothing about. He chooses the UK because they're the closest thing to, white America. And so this could happen to you, right here on American soil. What could happen? I mean, there's people who accidentally stumbled upon this channel, not the ones who are loyalists, who are gifting memberships, but just someone who stumbled upon it. And they are stunned to find out that you can be Muslim and live in the UK.
And that's legal. And wow. I love for Chip Roy, think this isn't just fear mongering about Muslims. It is that, but it's not just that. It's fear mongering about a religious takeover of America while arguably a religious takeover of America is happening. Your rights over your body are being stripped away, resting on a firm foundation of religious dogma. That's all. It's religious dogma, and now it rules your life in many parts of the country. That's what they're doing. That's not some hypothetical thing where a religious court will take over. Our Supreme Court has religious whack jobs on it right now. Not a conspiracy theory. They're there. They're ruling on things every single day. And so it's a great distraction to talk about how, oh, scary brown people's religion, that's the thing that's gonna take over soon. And by the way, they're not just content to talk about the UK. Take a look at this brief clip of Dennis Prager.
But this newest wave of Jew-hating Muslims, and there are Muslims who don't hate Jews, but they're a minority, and he won't say that. He won't say where it's from. So it's like, isn't one of the first things we want to know when somebody is murdered, who did it? Isn't who did it a very important consideration? The who did it has not been addressed here. It's the people who have taken over his party, the left, and this new Ilhan Omar type Muslim immigrant to the United States who brought with them from the Middle East a hatred of Jews that we have not known since the Holocaust and the Middle Ages.
Okay, so of course, Dennis Prager is very curious about who did it. He's referring there to Joe Biden talking about anti-Semitism because Joe Biden, far from being ruled by the left of his party, is willingly participating in a nationwide pillorying of college students who don't want civilians to be murdered in Gaza. That is a position that seems really defensible, so forget about that. They're just being anti-Semitic. It's much simpler if you just brand it that way. Joe Biden is doing the right's work in participating in the branding of all of this anti-war sentiment as being anti-Israel or anti-Semitic. And now he wants to know who did it. Was Dennis Prager curious about the dudes in khakis chanting "the Jews will not replace us"? Was Representative Omar in that crowd? I don't remember her from any of the pictures or videos. It seemed like a bunch of white frat boys, but anyway, I'm sure he's very curious, and I'm sure later on in that clip he goes on to talk about that. Now, we know that there is a lot of anti-Semitism, real anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories being openly shared on shows like InfoWars, people like Marjorie Greene openly doing it, hanging out with Nick Fuentes. They're marching in the streets. There is a real problem with anti-Semitism, and the right never cares about it because there are very fine people on both sides. But now, when it's campuses saying, let's not participate in this war, let's pull back from this mass devastation of civilian population, then suddenly it's easy to pillory it. And along the way, you get to attack Representative Omar. Because Representative Omar, despite being like a perfect example of the American dream, of someone coming to America, loving the country enough that you want to serve an elected office, and doing so and representing a constituency that has very few actual representatives in our elected government, does not ever get to be fully American, according to Dennis Prager. Because no matter what she does, she will still be a black woman. And that's it. You don't get to be American, according to Dennis Prager. What do you think, Sharon?
No, she's a threat. She's deemed the threat when I think we just listened to what the real threat is here. I too believe what you have talked about, the president doing the right bidding. They actually seem like they could sit at the same table and discuss this because they're on the same side. But to brand, and I love how they just like pull out these percentages or just say, I think he said, most Muslims hate Jews. How does he know that? Where are you getting this information from? How many people have you spoken to firsthand? Yes, anti-Semitism is a huge problem, okay? There's some other things in this country that are a huge problem too, where people are being treated with bigotry, anti-Semitism and racism. But this thing where you just talk about what you want to talk about it and isolate it to that. And as you mentioned, not go to Charlottesville or these other places. Again, it's there you go, bringing up hypocrisy again. There you go again.
Yeah, Dennis Prager, how about manage your own side of the aisle? You have lost the next generation of conservative men to Nick Fuentes, who talks about openly executing Jewish people for being perfidious Jews. That's your side. Are you curious about that? Do you want to look into that? No, I love that all of a sudden they get to cosplay as being concerned about anti-Semitism when anti-Semitism has been one of the bedrock principles of their party. And they know it and they use it. They love it. They love how it feeds the conspiracism on their side. They absolutely love it. And now they get to pretend that it's a problem. Of course, oh, by the way, if you ever mention Islamophobia, by the way, you'd be laughed out of the room. It's not a real thing. Racism, not a real thing. Misogyny, not a real thing. Homophobia, transphobia, not real things. There's two groups that can legitimately be attacked, and we could talk about it. White people always, and Jews sometimes. If they think that they can link it to the left, then, but not always. White people always, Jews sometimes. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?